Red Bull just played the entire grid. While Ferrari celebrated headline lap times, Verstappen was not even driving the real RB22. Now the leaked data for Week 2 suggests something outrageous. A brand new floor worth up to half a second per lap. A hidden vortex system rivals never saw. A rear suspension that behaves like active aero without breaking a single rule. And a qualifying engine mode that has not been unleashed once. If this is accurate, Red Bull could go from matching Ferrari to destroying the gap overnight. We are talking about 4 to 6 tenths from the floor alone. We are talking about a Ford power unit running 12 degrees cooler than its closest rival. We are talking about a team that may have deliberately hidden performance for an entire week. And if Verstappen activates full qualifying mode in Bahrain, the stopwatch could expose a completely different hierarchy. Stay with me, because if Red Bull really was sandbagging, Week 2 is where the illusion ends, and the domination begins. Let's break down what Red Bull actually did in Week 1. Because this is where it becomes almost strategic. While other teams chased headlines, Red Bull focused on something else. Validation. Mileage. Correlation. They ran long stints. They evaluated tire degradation. They stress-tested the Ford power unit. And most importantly, they avoided showing their real aerodynamic weapon. Observers noticed the floor edge looked unusually simple. Raw carbon. Minimal detailing. Almost unfinished. That is not how Adrian Newey designs race-winning floors. Which leads to the obvious conclusion. Week 1 was camouflage. The real floor, the one expected for Week 2, is dramatically different. Complex vortex generators along the outer edge. Aggressive diffuser channels. And a geometry designed to seal airflow underneath the car more efficiently. In modern ground effect Formula 1, the floor is everything. If you improve the floor, you improve stability. If you improve stability, you protect the tires. If you protect the tires, you dominate race pace. And the estimated gain from this new floor alone? Between 4 and 6 tenths per lap. That is enormous. That is not evolution. That is separation. Now combine that with what we already saw in Week 1. Even with the basic configuration, Verstappen's race simulations were matching Ferrari's best runs. And that was without the final aerodynamic package. So imagine adding half a second. Suddenly Ferrari's one-lap advantage disappears. But there is more. The Ford power unit has reportedly shown exceptional thermal robustness. Running cooler than Mercedes. Stable under long runs. No visible clipping. No emergency cooling. That means Red Bull does not need to compromise bodywork for survival. They can push aero efficiency harder. Which brings us to the rumored variable sidepod inlets. The idea is simple. Maximize cooling at low speed. Reduce drag at high speed. If they have achieved that legally, it creates an aerodynamic advantage Ferrari cannot match right now. Then comes the rear suspension geometry. Electronic active suspension is banned. But mechanical simulation is not. Red Bull's rear kinematics reportedly allow controlled squat under acceleration. That seals the diffuser. Increases downforce. And improves traction. Under braking, the geometry shifts slightly to stabilize the rear. That is why Verstappen's car looks calm even when pushed. And calm cars destroy tires less aggressively. Which wins races. Now imagine all of that working together. New floor generating stronger ground effect. Rear suspension sealing airflow under load. Efficient cooling maintaining peak engine modes. And then, finally, the qualifying engine map. So far, Red Bull has been running conservative settings. If Week 2 ends with full qualifying mode unleashed, softest compound tires, minimum fuel, we may see a time that resets expectations completely. Because the biggest threat is not that Red Bull improved. It is that they were already competitive without trying. Week 1 might not have shown weakness. It might have shown restraint. And if that is true, Week 2 is not about catching Ferrari. It is about revealing a gap that was never visible. If the new RB22 specification performs as projected, Verstappen will not just match Ferrari's insane pace. He will control it. And once Red Bull controls the pace, they control the championship narrative. Week 2 will answer one brutal question. Was Ferrari fast? Or was Red Bull simply patient? But here is where this becomes even more dangerous for the rest of the grid. Because Red Bull's strength is not just raw downforce. It is integration. Everything works together. The floor generates load. The rear suspension seals it. The cooling allows aggressive engine modes. The energy deployment remains stable. There are no visible weak links. And that is the difference between a fast car and a dominant one. If the final specification floor delivers the projected gain, the entire aerodynamic platform shifts upward. More load means the car can run slightly higher ride heights without losing performance. Higher ride height means less bouncing. Less bouncing means more consistent airflow. More consistent airflow means predictable balance. And predictable balance is Verstappen's playground. Because Max thrives when the car does exactly what he expects. No surprises. No thermal warnings. No sudden rear instability. Just precision. Now add tire management to the equation. In week 1, even with the basic floor, Red Bull's long runs looked calm. Minimal degradation spikes. Stable lap time drop off. If the new floor improves airflow sealing and reduces sliding even further, tire life extends naturally. And when Red Bull manages tires better than Ferrari, strategy becomes flexible. They can undercut. They can overcut. They can control pace. And controlling pace wins championships. But there is one more element that could redefine everything. The qualifying engine mode. So far, the Ford unit has been conservative. If on the final day of week 2 Red Bull activates the true qualifying setting for the first time, we will see the real hierarchy. Full electrical deployment. Maximum combustion mapping. Soft compound tires. Low fuel. If that lap is half a second clear of Ferrari, the psychological impact alone will be enormous. Because Ferrari is upgrading to fix fragility. Red Bull is upgrading from strength. Ferrari is trying to widen its operating window. Red Bull is trying to extend its ceiling. And those are two very different development philosophies. One is defensive. The other is aggressive. So when week 2 begins, every Verstappen run will be watched carefully. Is the rear even more stable? Is the mid-corner speed higher? Is the straight line speed untouched by cooling compromise? Because if the answer to all three is yes, the message becomes uncomfortable. Red Bull was never behind. They were preparing. Week 1 may have been a rehearsal. Week 2 could be the reveal. And if that reveal shows a car capable of both insane one-lap pace and unmatched race consistency, the rest of the grid will understand something quickly. Catching Red Bull will not require small upgrades. It will require a breakthrough. And breakthroughs do not come easily in Formula 1. So the real question is no longer whether the RB22 improved. The real question is whether we have already underestimated it. Because if this final specification package performs the way the data suggests, Verstappen will not just enter the season as favorite. He will enter it with a margin. And margins in Formula 1 change everything.